Welcome to the latest PowerPlay DVD, Test Your Attacking Chess. Every chess player should have the ability to play a direct attack against their opponent's king, or to sense when it's possible to play a direct attack. And that's what we're going to be looking at on this DVD. The aim is to provide you with an arsenal of potent attacking weapons. You'll find that looking at these games, certain themes come through that are common to all of them. First of all, that for a successful attack you need to include all your pieces. Secondly, that you need to open lines against your opponent's king, so files and diagonals. And the other thing that I've found is really common to all these games, and most attacking games, is that there comes a certain moment in the game where it's necessary to calculate. So you can maneuver for the first part and get your pieces in the right positions, but then there always comes a moment when you have to calculate. So it could be that you have to organise a breakthrough, and that needs calculation. It could be that suddenly your opponent counterattacks and you have to judge whether it's possible to break through first. But always calculation will be necessary at some point. It could just be that you need to find a tactic that forces checkmate. But calculation is key at certain moments. So on this DVD there are 10 attacking games, complete games. I always think that if we're going to study chess properly, then strategy properly, then it's important to look at a whole game so you can see the flow of ideas, how an attack builds up and how it concludes, not just the final part of the game. You'll find that if you're lazy enough to turn on Fritz or some other bit of chess software, that not all these attacking ideas are 100% sound. But I make no excuse for showing these games, actually, because these are real games, real attacking ideas played against real human beings. And it's interesting to see that they just couldn't cope with the pressure. When you put pressure on your opponent, they often make errors. So, it's just good to have an idea of these attacking ideas. So, you're going to be put to the test. I'm going to stop at certain key moments in the game and ask you what you would do next. I'm not going to test you on all the moves, but just key moments. And as ever with these PowerPlay DVDs, I do recommend that you have a real board with real pieces at your side. You don't just work from the computer. I think in that way the ideas go into our heads a lot better when you use real chess pieces. So the very best of luck. This first game I'm going to look at is played by Garry Kasparov, and it's an absolute classic attacking game. The ideas we see here are so common. This strategy you can find from so many different openings, this type of attacking position that Kasparov arrives at. So, without further ado, let's crack on with it. So, Kasparov against Beygun from the Sokolsky Memorial, played in Minsk 1978. This was one of Kasparov's breakthrough tournaments when he was a teenager, and really first heralded to the wider world that he was a superstar in the making. And this game, well, it's not so well known, perhaps because he won it too easily, but I think it's really worth looking at. It's such a neat attacking game. So Kasparov opened with d4, and you can see it looks like we're heading for some kind of Queen's Gambit. But here Beygun plays c5, so we're going to get a Tarrasch. It looks like we're going to get a Tarrasch here. For example, if pawn takes pawn, well, white can play bishop g5 here, or you can transpose to the normal Tarrasch. But here Baygun played knight takes d5, the so-called semi-Tarrasch, which we've seen Kramnik play, for example, fairly recently. Now, one of the ideas is that after e4, knight takes, that black tries to exchange off lots of pieces, although white has a very nice centre. Lots of pieces are being traded, and in that way black hopes it's not so dangerous. But instead of that, Kasparov played e3, which keeps more tension in the position. And bishop d3, and this can lead to isolated queen pawn positions. I'll show you how in a moment. So, for example, if black captures on d4 here, we have a very typical isolated queen pawn position, and then black castles. But instead of this, Baygun played castles straight away, just keeping the tension, and that means this bishop here can't come into the game so easily. Not at the moment, anyway. So here Kasparov could wait with, say, a3 or rook a1 and hope that black then exchanges on d4. But black has other options. You can perhaps play b6 here. But Kasparov decided to play, well, in a more straightforward way. He didn't want to wait. He exchanged on d5. And now if pawn takes, then we can see there's a tactic in this position. Because, I mean, pawn takes looks like a very straightforward way for black to play, because then you can develop this bishop perhaps to g4. But the problem in this position is that white exchanges on c5, and you can see that there's a tactic here. The bishop is loose, and this pawn is loose. We've seen on many occasions in these power play DVDs how a bishop on d3 is extremely powerful when it's looking at the h7 pawn, and here there's a simple tactic. Well, you can either play queen c2, or simplest is just to take here and play queen c2, check, and you can take the bishop and win a pawn. So black played queen takes d5, and Kasparov came forward with e4. Now, the best move here is probably queen h5, but, well, that can be quite tricky as well. But in this position, black played queen d8. And here is my first question for you. Can you find a way for white to seize the initiative? How did Kasparov play in this position? See you soon.